So the first pattern, I teach a lot of patterns with this chord progression just because it's very easy to learn. I think it's decent enough for beginners, and there's not too many really difficult parts. You can learn a lot of the basics just with these three chords. I'm not even going to go into which chords they are because, to be honest, that doesn't really matter in my opinion ever. It's 1, 2, and 3, we can call it. Looking at the Photoshop window that I have up, the loop is 1, 2, 3, 2. Everything that I teach to start out usually goes in four chords. That way, it just makes sense. Later on, we'll start splitting them up. But for right now, 1, 2, 3, and 2 is decent. So the whole chord progression is just basically this. That's the whole chord progression, and then the loop would be that. All right, you get the point. So one practice pattern, your right hand is your thumb is on the 5th string, and then every other finger, you want to be able to do this with a guitar basically, and that should be self-explanatory. Your left hand, the only points that I think are relevant at this stage would be where your fingers land on the string. This is extremely important. What you want to happen is basically you want to have that line, those lines end up on the tips of your fingers. Can't really see them there. There you go. You don't want to have them on the more fleshy part of your finger. You don't want to have it. You don't want to be ever like this. Like you see this flat. Don't ever do that. Try to make it a habit of basically being like a 90 degrees almost, pointing into the guitar with each of your fingers. If you're having difficulty, which you should, pretty much everybody that I've taught has had somewhat difficulty of sustaining this angle. You can push out your wrist a little bit with your thumb supporting back here. You push out your wrist, and that gives you a little bit better angle to go 90 degrees on the guitar. Another core point is when you're going down the strings, again, the thumb starts on the 5th string, and the rest of them follow one by one. You want to just go down the guitar and up the guitar. If you look again at the Photoshop window down there, I have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the strings. The 5th is the thumb, so you're gonna go. That's basically the whole entire loop, the whole entire everything, it's literally everything. You do that per chord. So you can do that a total of 4 times for a loop. I'm gonna play it once just fast, just so you can hear the result of it. So that was 2 loops. Play a total of 8 chords, 4 chords per progression. One thing that you want to practice is the tone of the actual strings. You don't want it to sound like this. If you sound anything like beep boop beep, that means you want to correct this hand. You're not either pushing down hard enough on the strings, or you're not pushing down at a 90-degree angle. More often than not, it's that your fingers ending up flat, and then the tips of your fingers is holding down or vibrating on like barely touching the other strings, and that's basically it. That's the only thing that you need to worry about on your left hand. The only difficult part, well, not the only difficult part, but in my opinion, the most difficult part of this whole thing is going from chord 1 to chord 2. Right there, your mind is gonna take a little bit of good focus to land on the strings, just because you haven't built up, or you shouldn't have built up the dexterity to do that yet with this hand. Your right hand, pretty much, all you want to worry about is the tempo. You don't want to fluctuate with your tempo. You should be hitting each of the strings exactly on point. Exactly on point meaning if you have some kind of a metronome, or if you have the tempo like this, You want to keep that constant. You don't want to do something like this. You don't want to, you know what I mean? Like you fluctuate it back and around. If you're trying to do the whole entire chord progressions, 1, 2, 3, 2, while doing the string, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost 100% of the time, everybody that I teach tries to do it way too fast. And a core thing that I always tell them is that just like how you're training your ear, that you should only do it like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times and then go back to doing the app way to tune it, to tune the guitar. This is similar theory, right? You want to go as slow as possible so that you eliminate any fluctuations in tempo. Slow as possible to eliminate any fluctuations in tempo. That means that if I'm trying to play this as a beginner and I'm going, one of my friends right now is going like this a lot. He's building the habit of going down the guitar. He goes really well, but then coming back up, that finger dexterity is not there yet, and he's fluctuating the tempo a whole lot. So then what I would tell him is slow down, and then his pace should be something like this. And then once you switch, you should have a very difficult time, or at least a pretty decent time going from chord 1 to chord 2. So that space, whenever you're switching, it should sound something like this. That space, whatever the amount of time that you take to switch from chord 1 to chord 2, you want to eliminate that. So keep on playing it as slow as possible so that you can switch while keeping the same tempo. If you have to play it this slow, you should be playing it this slow. If you have to play it slower than that, play it slower than that. Play it as slow as possible so you can maintain a constant tempo. It's extremely important. It's going to help you out later. It's a really bad habit to start just fluctuating tempo all over the place. And it's just going to make life easier in the long run. What else on that? I think that should basically pretty much be it. I guess a few pointers or tips or just random rant. I get bored when I have that kind of focus, when the amount of focus required to really play that slow. I would get bored relatively quickly, and I would want to start, trying to challenge myself, trying to go faster. You need to have a balance between those two. One thing that I always used to do is put 5 minutes, 10 minutes, doesn't matter the time, it's different between every person. The amount of time that you can sustain that level of focus without getting like throw table, I'm done with this, like let me break. You need to find that sweet spot, and every time that you practice, you need to allocate that into these core things. Playing on point, playing on tempo, and playing clean. Those are basically the core things that in my opinion I feel is the strongest things to learn in guitar. So force yourself, 2 minutes, 1 minute, doesn't matter. But every day that you do it, you're going to be able to increase that level of focus and the amount of time that you can sustain that. And then just go back and forth between any kind of patterns. That's pretty much it.